We're live.
Hi everyone, I'm Zara, founder of Monti Kids, and this is Zaid. He's 5 months old, and he's my baby and my little co-founder. We launched when I was pregnant with him, so he's here to help us with our Facebook Live today. We are talking about how to set up your child's play area to promote learning and development. And I would love to know if people are there with us. If you're there, please type your name in the comments and your baby's age or whether you're expecting a baby, and where you live, your city. It's always great to know that people are out there listening. So today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is how to set up your play area. And Zaid is going to show us his play area in action. I'm going to move him a little bit. People out there, we'd love to hear from you. Yay! Someone's there! Great! Welcome! Welcome! Okay, so I'm going to get started. So this is one of my favorite topics because working on your child's play area and setting it up is really one of the foundations of helping them to learn and develop. And that's true from birth through childhood and probably through adulthood, actually. But the reason is because children at this age don't learn if through teaching. We're not, giving flashcards. We're not doing work on worksheets or the blackboard. We're not actively teaching them. Our job and our role as adults, as parents, as educators, is really to set up an environment for them and provide them with opportunities for hands-on learning, because that's how young children learn. And then the learning happens naturally. So for those of you who don't know much about Monti Kids, or for those families who are already part of the Monti Kids community, you know that Monti Kids sends materials for your baby, Montessori learning toys, every 3 months according to their stage of development, and then weekly guidance for parents, so a video or a short written guide. And the first video we send is called How to Set Up Your Play Space. It really is the first thing that we want parents to think about when embarking on this fun journey of playful learning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we would want a play space like this, what are the benefits for the child, and how to set it up. And we're also offering a gift for families who are new, who want to sign up for Monti Kids from now until the end of this month, a free one-on-one session with a child development Montessori expert to talk about how to set up your space at home or answer any other questions you have. Because I'm going to give you all the generals, but it's really helpful to have a video chat with an expert and kind of figure out how to do it best in your home for your needs. So if you sign up for Monti Kids before the end of the month, that is a free session that we're offering. It's $150 value, and I think that's all I wanted to say before we start. So I wanted to take one question. People sent in questions earlier before we began, which I really appreciated. I wanted to take one question now, and then I'm going to give a big, tell you everything I really want you to know, because this is such a juicy topic, and then take more questions at the end. So the one question I wanted to start with now, someone wrote in and asked, when is the best time to set up an area like this? The answer is now. Wow, no matter how old your child is, this type of an area, the type of area we're going to talk about today, will help them tremendously. I have my older son who's turning 6 on Sunday, and he thrives when his area is like this, and when we kind of let it slide. As it will slide, it'll get messy, things will accumulate, and then a few weeks will pass, and I'll be like, oh, we have to clean up, and we'll do it together, and I'll see the next day, a total shift in his playing habits. He's so much more focused and engaged and happy and calm. So when I was teaching preschool, people were setting up these type of environments at age 4 or 5. Zayd is 5 months. The ideal time is to set it up when a parent is expecting their baby. So when you're researching, the best rocking chair and where you're gonna put your baby's bed and all of those, getting all your gear, really a lot of parents don't realize that they can set up an area like this that newborns can use right from birth. And so to carve out a little area of your home, of their room, and give them that opportunity, you'll see your newborn concentrating on our mobiles for 20, 30 minutes, and it'll just go, increase as they get older. To give them that foundation right from the beginning has a tremendous impact long term. So the ideal time is when you're expecting your baby. So if you know any expecting parents, I'm always really thrilled to meet parents when they're expecting, because it's the best time, and there's no guilt about, oh, I already did something wrong, and we're all doing the best we can always. So I don't believe that anyone's doing anything wrong. But if you know parents who are expecting, please tag them and share this video, because it's such a great opportunity. So that was the one question I wanted to address. Before we start on how to, really like the practical, how to get this all set up, I would like to talk about the why. Why set up a play area like this? And I hope that you can see kind of where I'm going to move a little bit. So you can just see the shelf that Zayd has, and of course the materials. The materials will change according to the baby's age and developmental stage, and basically some floor space, and then he's a young baby, so he has a mirror, but I'm going to talk about what types of things come in and out of the play area. So you always have a floor area and a shelf with age-appropriate materials, and then there's some things, depending on age and stage, that move in and out of the area. So I'll talk about all of that, but first, why is this important? Why is this helpful and beneficial? There's 3 kind of main goals and main reasons that we want to do something like this for our children. Reason number 1 is to promote concentration. So reason number 2, I'll just say them all, and then I'll kind of describe them. Concentration, independence, and motor development. So concentration is extremely important for young children because that is when all the deep learning happens. I am totally distracting Zayd right now. He's not concentrating on his toy, he's concentrating on me, which is fine. That's great. He's getting a lot of working on his language development right now, I think. But typically what we want to see is a young baby having the opportunity to engage with their learning toys and kind of focus all of their mental energy and all of their physical energy. So their whole body and mind is directed toward this one thing, and that is when learning happens. And I'm doing this because as a trained Montessori teacher, our job and what we learn is to preserve that. So if that were happening, and I wasn't doing Facebook Live, I would kind of step away. Not leave him alone in the room unattended and unsupervised, of course, but step away to give him some space and observe him from afar, like a few feet, so that he's not distracted by me, and give him that space to learn. And the reason why I'm talking about it now is because setting up the play space in this way allows that to happen. When you're in a messy environment or a cluttered environment, it's really hard for a child who's so sensitive to their environment and sensitive to order to focus and calm themselves and concentrate. So that is goal number 1. I am letting Zayd, you can't see his rattle, but it's rolled over here, and I'm going to give him a chance to get it by himself before I jump in and help him. So number 2 was independence, and that's kind of what's happening right now. Independence is really helpful in life, of course, and it starts now. So giving children a space like this that's very manageable allows them to have that opportunity to develop independence. So if we were to put all our babies or child's toys in a bin or 2 bins stuffed with toys, we're not making it easy for them to go and choose the toy they want and play with it in a focused way and then go and replace it, because it's hard to find what they want and they don't know where it is in that bin and they might not be able to reach it. And so having a really low shelf with just a few choices enables them to go and choose. And we just had a Monti Kids family write in yesterday to us on our private Monti Kids Families Facebook community group, and she said her 8-month-old for the first time is not even crawling, but kind of dragged herself over to the shelf and chose her own toy. And you typically don't see that with an 8-month-old unless you really set up the environment in a way that they can be independent. And I think I'm looking forward to hearing from that same family, it probably in a few weeks when that baby actually starts crawling and kind of drags the toy and puts it back. It's amazing to see crawling babies do that, but they really, they thrive in order. They kind of imprint this in their minds, and so they'll put it back, and they'll see us put it back every time they play with it from now until they're able to do it, and they learn that that's just what we do. So having that independence and also being able to play independently because it's totally safe and it's totally developmentally appropriate, that is what breeds that concentration. If we're always having to be right next to them, helping them because they can't do it by themselves, they're not going to get into that concentration zone that I talked about. So so the 3 goals of setting up this place-based concentration, independence, and motor development, they happen to all be related. So the 3rd goal of setting up a play area in this way for your baby is to help them with their motor development. And sometimes, in our culture, somehow motor development has kind of taken like a back seat almost with young children. We think of like parents, a lot of parents, not everybody, really value cognitive development. Social and emotional development is very like hot these days. And sometimes the families, I'll hear from the families who are like have a sports background or exercise background, they want to focus on motor development. And people know it's important, but I think it's, for some reason, I just want to like shout to the world about how important motor development is, because motor development and cognitive development are completely intertwined. So really the work of a child at this age, from birth to 3 and even beyond, is so much about giving them those opportunities. That is how they learn, through, we call it embodied learning, full body learning experiences. And so setting up an area in this way right from birth allows them to be on the floor. This provides an opportunity for learning way more than spending the entire day in containers. Like if a child has a play area where they have a bouncy seat, a jumper, and then they're out for a walk in a stroller, and maybe they have a activity like center where, kind of like a walker type of thing, and they're spending all day, every day in what we call containers, they're not getting those rich opportunities or enough opportunities to be on the floor, to be practicing their rolling, their crawling, their scooting, their scooching, and whatever else they do. And all of that is deep learning. Like I said, cognitive and motor development, both gross motor and fine motor, are completely intertwined. So those are the 3 goals of this area, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how to set it up. First, before I move on, I'm like so into people knowing how important these things are. That remember I said those 3 goals are related. Gross motor, that goal, gross motor, fine motor development is very related to concentration. Because remember I said that concentration happens when the motor skills and the cognitive skills are kind of all firing at the same time as the baby works and plays. And as they get older, I'll talk about what comes into the area, but there's more and more opportunities to work on development of movement. Okay, so the practical basics, how to get started with this area. I'm going to take a sip of water. Please type in your questions if you have them. Hi, Najla. Nice to see you. The computer is kind of far, so I can't see everyone who's here, but it's really nice to see that there's people from all over the world. So please, again, if you haven't said hello, type in your baby's age, the city you're joining from, and if you have questions, type them in. We love to know who's with us, and we try to answer all the questions. If we can't answer them today, we'll try to answer as many of them as we can after the session. And like I said, we're offering free, personalized how to set up your play area sessions for families who join Monti Kids this month. So, okay, how to get started. The first thing you want to do is to pick where this area is going to live in your home. As you can see, I have chosen for Zaid's play area to be in our living room. So, because we hang out here, it's attached to our kitchen, so we eat here, we relax here. My 6-year-old has his play area in his room. He's old enough to, bring one toy, play with it over here, put it back when he's done. I keep them separate because my 6-year-old has like little Legos and things that would not be safe for Zaid to get his hands on. So I keep them very separate. But basically, Zaid, families often ask me like, oh, how much time should a baby be spending in their play area? When should I put the baby like down to play? What times of the day? How long? Really, it's ideal when it's just part of your life. Like Zaid plays while I'm preparing food, eating, working, we're relaxing, he's playing, we pick him up, we play with him for a little bit, we put him down. Sometimes when he's fussy, and it's not that he's hungry or tired or a diaper problem, we'll just put him here and he'll calm because he just wanted to play. He just wanted some, some fun. Sometimes babies cry when they're bored, which people don't often think about as that being the reason. So we let him engage as many times as we can throughout the day, whether it's, a 3-minute play session or a 40-minute play session. It's just nice when it's part of your life and part of their lives. And it actually makes life so much easier because, like I said, I can get so much done while supervising him. And he's getting his work done. And he's learning and developing and enjoying himself, and we're still connected. So I'm a huge supporter of setting up your baby's play area in the room where your family kind of hangs out, typically the living room. And you can do it in a way that's beautiful and doesn't look like a daycare in your home. And guests come over and they're like, "Ooh, wow, this is pretty." So I'll tell you where I got some of the stuff to help you do that. Some people choose to set it up in their baby's room, and that's totally fine too. We don't typically spend a lot of time in his room. It's really just for sleep, and so that's why it's not there. But when he's a little bit older, we might have like a mini play area in his room. Just do what works for your family. So where is the first question? And then kind of the what should be in it. I mentioned one of the staples is the shelf. So the shelf, you don't need exactly the shelf. You could use a shelf that you buy from the store. You could use, if you have like a built-in bookshelf in your home, you could use the bottom 2 shelves of the bookshelf, kind of clear off the books, and you can still have your stuff above. just basically it has to be low enough to the ground so that they can reach it. Do you want another toy? Have yours. You can also use a cabinet. So I've seen some families actually take the doors off their, like a few cabinets, and then just put the toys in there. If you have a low coffee table, sometimes that works. So especially if you have one of those coffee tables that's like low and has like another shelf underneath. It doesn't have to be 2 layers. If you just have one, you can use something you have in your home. There's things available at IKEA. There's, you know, $200 shelves available from other places. So really, you can make it work no matter your budget, no matter your style. We are very lucky, and our dear friend and the designer at Monti Kids, Yuki, made this for us. And it was like a project that he did with my 6-year-old, which I think was really a nice way for my son Musa to prepare for the baby's arrival, and having a hand in that. And I think we're going to post the instructions for making a shelf if you're handy soon in our blog. So that's the shelf. As for the what's on the floor, it's actually really, I put a lot of thought, and Montessorians put a lot of thought into what goes on the floor. It has to be comfortable, because if you're lying on a hardwood floor, you're not going to want to stay there for very long, and it's the same for a baby. So I actually have foam tiles under this rug, because if it was the rug just on the hardwood, I felt like it was going to be too hard. So these foam tiles, you may recognize them. They're from Little Nomad, and I chose them because, like I said, I'm putting it in my living room. I don't want it to look like a preschool with kid designs, primary colors, and things like that. So I chose these. But you can get them really from anywhere, especially if you're going to cover it with a rug. I was not sure we were going to, so I got these beautiful ones. And then, and this is just the 4x6 size, which is a great size for a child. You don't need to have a huge area, and it can even be smaller if that's the space you have. As long as they have some room to kind of roll, that's important. And then I put a rug on top. And the reason I put a rug on top is because the tiles themselves don't provide any traction. And yeah, so he knows. And traction is really important for babies who are learning how to move around. Because should we put you on your tummy? Yeah? Do you want to show them? Let's do it. If Zayd were on his tummy, and want to see Zayd? If Zayd were on his tummy and trying to kind of scooch his feet so that he could move forward, and he was just on those tiles, his feet would be slipping. And that doesn't help with his learning and development of movement. So to give some traction, we picked a rug, and we picked a rug with like some ridges you can see, so it provides traction. The rug is also important for me, that it's washable, because I didn't want to be looking at a dirty rug all the time. And so I found a washable rug from this company called Hook and Loom. And be careful, because they say on their website that it shrinks when you wash it. But I think there's actually a few rug companies now that are offering washable rugs. There's one new one called Ruggable. And if other people know of washable rugs, please write it in the comments. So I'm going to put Zayd on his tummy, and we'll see what happens. You want to go on your tummy? 1 second. So that is, and I wanted to show you something. I took it away. Christian, would you please see that thing? Christian is here. Would you like to say hello? Hello. Okay, so I actually put this on top of the rug most of the time. This is from Amazon, and it's like this, the rug is washable, but you don't want to wash the rug every single day. I put this because it's one of those waterproof things that you can put under babies, like on the couch, wherever they are. This is like my favorite baby item. So you can throw one of those on top too, just so you minimize how many times you have to wash your rug. And it makes it like a little bit of a softer landing. So that's what is in the staples of the play area. From when you start at birth, it's very nice to have a mirror for babies who are this young. They love to look at themselves. That it'll extend their tummy time. When they're on their tummies, they typically don't like to be on their tummies, but if they're looking in a mirror, it can really help to engage them for a longer period. They're learning about their bodies when they're looking in the mirror. So right now I'm talking about the things that come in and out of the play space depending on the baby's development. So you wouldn't keep a mirror in the play area as a baby's like crawling and walking. This mirror is from Discount School Supply. You can also get a really cheap mirror, like one of those ones that you hang on a door from any big box store, and mount it to your wall. And so some families keep it there for a longer time if it's mounted to the wall. I will move this because it's not mounted to the wall. It has these little, you can't really see. Wait, I'm gonna move. See, it's on like a little, it has legs. So that's how it stands. But I'm gonna move it out when Zayd starts crawling so that he doesn't, start banging into it and exploring it too much. So, and then once the baby starts crawling, it's really helpful to add a bar to their play area, like a little ballet bar. And that is to help them start pulling up. And if you wait until they're pulling up to add the bar, you're not going to get much use out of it. They've already learned how to do it. They're going to do it for a while, and then the bar will kind of be not as exciting. But in Montessori, we're always introducing things a little bit early before the child has figured out how to do it, because all the learning happens when you kind of scaffold them in that way and help them to develop the skill by putting it into the environment before, just before they're ready. So we would add a bar, and we can talk about if people have questions about how to actually do the bar. Other things that you can put into your area if you don't want to mount a bar to your wall are like Ottomans that are sturdy so that the baby can pull up. Not an Ottoman on wheels, but something that just really won't move. Or one of those like activity cubes. With my older son, I had those like the ones that's kind of like a box. The top falls off or opens, doesn't fall off, and you can stack books and heavy things in there. You can do the same with a laundry basket. Just make sure it's really weighted down with heavy objects so that your baby can pull up when they're starting to crawl. After that, one thing I wanted to mention about the bar, a lot of families like to, it's not very interesting for your baby to pull up on a bar and then see a wall. So if you have low windows, which I don't, but if you have low windows, it's lovely to put the bar underneath and they can come up and see the window. That is like so motivating. They really want to pull up to see what's outside. If you don't have low windows, you can put art, little child-sized paintings. Or you could put a mirror so that they can pull up and see themselves. After that, what comes into the play area when they're walking is a low table and chair. And this really helps them with their gross motor development. And then it also helps them with that independence. They can choose whether they want to take their toy and play on a table or play on the floor. And you can also add a bookshelf. So right now, we always have books in our environment. We have a couple on the shelf with the toys. As Zayd gets a little bit older and he needs a bigger selection of books in his play area, we'll put a little basket out with like 3 or 4 books. So he can go and choose the one he wants from the basket. Right now we have these 2. And then the Monti Kids wooden book, which he loves. And when they start walking, you can put in one of those low bookshelves that's kind of front facing and put a few books in, and then they can walk and get them. So those are the type of things that kind of come in and out of the play area. You can put in a little child-sized chair for them to relax in, so you can have fun with it. But these are kind of the basics. Something else to what goes on the shelf? We recommend very simple toys like the ones we offer at Monti Kids, where they're not what we call active toys, so they're not things that have lights and music and buttons and electronic toys, basically. We recommend passive toys, which are simple wooden toys that are developmentally appropriate. And the reason why this is a passive toy is because nothing is going to happen until your child activates it. So the child has to go into active mode to make things happen, to put balls into boxes, and things like that. Versus with an active toy, your child pushes a button and then can go into passive mode and kind of almost turn their brain off and just kind of be entertained. Depending, there's varying degrees. I don't want to be too dramatic, but like an iPad has a very, very overstimulating application, or game running is kind of an extreme example of a very active toy that would put your child into passive mode. And I ask families to just think about it and observe their child and how they act. If you do have like electronic toys or active toys in your home, you could try putting it on the shelf if you really want to. Some families find they have to separate them. So we have only passive toys, wooden, simple toys on the shelf. And some families find that if they put both, it's kind of like putting a plate of food in front of your child with both vegetables and dessert on the same plate. They're going to go for the dessert typically. And some families don't find that, and that's fine. But some families who do find that, they choose to put, if they have electronic toys at all, some families like to just keep it out of their child's life, which is fine. Others choose to just use it in the car or on the airplane, or if they have a basement, they'll put some down there. So it's really, it has to work for your family, and it really depends on the child. Some children are not, fazed by having all those electronic toys around. They still want to get into active mode and explore and, problem solve with these types of things. And developmentally appropriate is really important. So giving your child things that are challenging them, stretching their skills. Like I said, putting the bar up before they've started pulling up. So you want to stretch their skills, but not so much that it's overwhelming and frustrating that they could never do it, because then that's going to be like defeating, and they're not going to feel good about themselves if they're struggling and always frustrated. So that's kind of called the zone of proximal development. They're the zone in which they can learn the most is when they have that extra challenge, but it's not too hard. And providing those toys is sometimes tricky for parents. They don't know what to provide at what time. So that's actually one of the reasons that I was really motivated to start Monti Kids, is to send things for children when they're developmentally appropriate, and to just keep that going. So we provide materials every 3 months based on the baby's age and stage. So those are the things that I wanted to address. I am happy to take questions. The computer's a little bit far. Maybe I should just pull it forward. Thanks, Christian. Okay. Jennifer, great. Thanks, Christian. So Jennifer Sherman is asking, at what age should you introduce a center rug in the room for work? A center rug. Are you talking about a rug like this? If you're talking about a rug like this, I would say when a family's pregnant, expecting a baby, definitely set up this area, because that baby is going to come out and can start playing right away. Zayd happened to be kind of alert in like right when he was born. So we came home from the hospital and we started using Monti Kids mobiles right away. My older son, it took him like a couple weeks to kind of get more alert. And so we waited to use our mobiles until he was having periods of being awake. But really, either like right, from birth or within 2 weeks, it's ideal for them to have opportunities to be lying on this rug under their mobiles and having the opportunities to develop their vision. A lot of parents don't know that there's a period after birth where what a baby sees actually impacts the development of their vision. So providing mobiles, and we provide a series of mobiles that each tailored to a different visual need and a visual skill, but providing visual stimulation that's developmentally appropriate helps them to improve their eyesight, their eye tracking, their switching focus between objects. And like I said, people will notice babies concentrating for 20, 30, 40 minutes right from the first few weeks of life. So I always say from birth is before birth. You have time when you're expecting a baby to set this all up, and afterwards it gets a little more challenging. Although it will buy you time. Like I said, when your baby is here, you'll have more time to use your computer, order things on Amazon and things like that while they're playing. Should I pick a different question? Let me choose one from here. So I have a 3-month-old, and I want to know what kinds of games and active time I should be engaging her in. So for 3-month-olds, a lot of floor time is what we recommend, and we have something called an activity gym. So 3-months-old would still be using visual mobiles probably, but once they start like grasping out and reaching and touching those mobiles, we suggest an activity gym where they can do those things, grasping and reaching and kicking. I'm gonna just grab my activity gym so you can see it. I just put it to the side for this session. But this is the type of thing that a 3-month-old would absolutely love to play with. So we have different accessories that we attach to this for kicking, grasping, batting, and kicking. Oh, I said kicking. This type of thing is really great for a child of that age. And then once they start really moving around more, rolling like over and over, or Zayn has actually started like lifting one arm of this and trying to put it in his mouth. So that's when it's time to retire it, because when they're kind of on the move or starting to be, he's not crawling yet, and he's not really moving himself to get things yet, like get toys on the shelf, but he is definitely, like if he drops a toy, he'll kind of look at it, reach over. If I leave him for a few minutes, he might figure out how to get it. And so we really want to encourage that, and we don't want it at that age. We don't want to encourage them to lie here and just move their limbs. We want that full body movement. So that's when we retire the activity gym. So Monti Kids provides the recommendations for the ages and stages. We send the materials. We send parents videos that show you how to do all of this, how to introduce toys in the best way. But really, it's up to a parent, and this is one of the things we say is really critical right from the beginning, that we talk to parents about observing. So things like that, when is it time to retire the activity gym? When you notice that your child is not just moving their limbs, now they're moving their whole bodies, and they can actually get a toy that's a little farther away from them. So, you don't want to hold them back. And that type of thing can only be done through observation, and also through interacting with people like me and people like Christiane and Bernice on our team. And so that's why we really encourage our families to observe for themselves and then to interact with us. We have a private Facebook group for our Monti Kids families where people write in questions. We do one-on-one coaching sessions where we talk about your baby's development, things like that. When is it time to do certain things? We talk about sleep, talk about how to set up this environment for your home, like I said. So getting that kind of, because really applying all of this to your baby individually in your home, that's done through kind of observation, and we can help support you with that. Okay, let's take another question. Just scroll through. Okay. So someone asked about electronic toys before the session, and I think I talked a little bit about that, but they were talking specifically about iPads and whether I recommend them at all at this age, and I would say no. The American Pediatric Association recommends, they used to recommend absolutely no screen time before age 2. Now they've just very recently modified it to 18 months, and the exception, 18 months to the reason why it's 18 months is because they say FaceTime with like grandparents is fine. But for other reasons, they do not recommend it until after 2. We personally waited till after 3. I think that there's a lot of stimulation when using screens, depending on what app or game or show you're using. But it can really be overstimulating for little babies of under age 2 or 3. And it's funny, just anecdotally, I talk to Montessori teachers who are my friends and who have kind of the ones who are very seasoned and have been in the classroom for 30 years, 20 years, and they say that the children who come in today using screens are very different than children who used to come into their classroom 10 years ago, because once your brain kind of gets used to that stimulation and those images that flash like so quickly, it's hard to sit down and concentrate on materials like this and to learn through play, which is really kind of the work of childhood. And so there's also an opportunity cost. The time that one spends on an iPad could be much better spent even just doing this is so much better for their development. So I typically don't recommend that. And there's also been studies that talk about language delays for children who spend a lot of time on the iPad. I think it's like for every 30 minutes a day that a child spends with a screen, they see like an increased risk for a language delay. So that is my stance. It's very personal. Life is hard. I'm a mom of 2. I know things get really hectic at restaurants and airplanes and even long car rides. So, do what works for your family. And if you need some support from a fellow parent, reach out. Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Also learn more about our videos that you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Christiane would like me to answer another question. I guess, yes, we're scheduled for 45 minutes, so we have a little time. Okay, Jennifer Sherman is asking, can you describe more the kinds of videos and assistance that comes with the subscription service? I see the toys on the website, but I'd love to know more about the support service. Is it a Facebook group? Okay, so we really designed a program because a lot of parents just don't have the tools and resources to know, what is the best thing for a 4-month-old or a 6-month-old or a 9-month-old. What are they learning? What should they be doing? And how to best support their development. So in addition to the hands-on learning for the child, it's actually really important for the parent to get the support to know how best to introduce things. And Montessori is guided play, which is different from kind of just totally letting the child explore with materials without giving them any introduction. There's a lot of research on guided play and how that is kind of the best way that children learn, to get a little introduction from an adult. Not that, this is the right way to play and I'm going to correct you if you're doing it wrong. Not that at all. But this is an introduction, and then let them explore and learn for themselves and figure it out. So we show you how to introduce toys in that way, to kind of invite that exploration. We have a video for every single toy that we send. And we have a research and benefits guide. So kind of the stuff that I've been talking about today, why it's important, the research behind it. We talk about that for every single material and for every stage of development. So we drip an email to a parent's inbox weekly with that guidance, and just to guide you through the program. So, we're like holding your hand as your partner through your child's development. So those are that's the content that comes with Monti Kids. Then there's support, which, we are always happy to do. If you email us directly, we work with parents all the time over email. We do video chats and talk about anything to do with your child's learning and development. A question we get a lot is, my child has started to walk and so they don't want to play with their toys right now. And that's totally normal. I mean, we work through that. A lot of times it's just about patience, but really parents can ask anything. And then we have a private Facebook group where we are involved as like the expert moderators, and the families are involved. All of the families who sign up for Monti Kids can join our private Facebook group, and then they're really supporting each other, and there's a lot of exchange of ideas. The same questions come up, and there's parents with children of different ages, so they're supporting each other across age ranges, which is really beautiful. And we're trying to create local communities too, so introducing people who are in the same city so they can get together for a play date. And if there's an expert in that city, then that's even better. And you can do a little play session with the expert as well. So that is the type of support we provide. I hope that. And then I don't know if this was part of your question, but we are offering a 1-hour free session with an expert on our team for anyone who signs up for Monti Kids this month before the end of April. And that is like a $150 value, and that's a session provided by a child development Montessori expert, focused specifically on your play area. So you can video chat with us in your home, show us what it looks like. We can help you use things you have to make this work. If you have multiple kids, or we'll just really personalize it for you. And we can also talk about other things, anything related to your child's development. So I don't know if that was part of your question, but that's what we're offering now. And that's there's no promo code or anything for that. That's just included if you purchase before the end of this month, before April 30th. Okay. All right. So we're out of time, and I'm really happy that you all joined us, and please continue to send in questions. We always love hearing from our community, and I will see you next time. Bye. Say bye. Yeah. Oh, I think that works too.